What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Andor, Season 1, Episode 10, One Way Out. I finally get the reference now. So if any groups dress up like this for Dragon Con this year, I'll know what they're talking about now. But yeah, I mean, great episode. And honestly, what it is, in my opinion, this is real quality writing. Because how this worked out in the story, I was just talking about it when I was talking about the previous episode, is you've got this feeling of, God, nothing is working. You know, the Empire's going to win. The Empire's on top. They're fully in control of the situation. They're winning. They're winning. They're winning. Dedra's winning every turn. She's, torturing people and getting away with it. She's getting all this information about these possible rebellious groups. It just felt like everything was hopeless. Cassian's in prison for some reason or another. He ended up in prison, and it feels like a prison that there's just no way you're going to get out. And it's been building up. It's been filling me with this feeling of this is hopeless. Nothing's gonna work. In the end, everybody's gonna die. What's the point? They've done such a good job with building up that feeling. So when you get to this moment, things are still not wrapped up, but you have this moment of some really good wins. You have Cassian and all these guys get out of the prison, which feels great, and that whole sequence was great. And then all of a sudden you find out apparently there's a mole in the ISB that's been working on, and it feels great. The only thing that's still got a lot of issues to resolve is Ferrix. Obviously, we know Marva's not doing great, and of course we know with all the torturing going on and stuff, Bix is probably not going to be mentally right for a while. But it doesn't matter because we come out of this feeling so, yes. What a great feeling whenever they're breaking out of the prison and whenever we see that apparently there is somebody working in the ISB that is able to help. Something great feeling about that. Just that moment of there is hope. There is something that we can do to turn the tides here. I don't know. It's a really well-timed episode that I think brings that feeling back in, and because we have been wallowing in this feeling of things are hopeless for so long, I think it amplifies it even more. So, in my opinion, masterclass of writing in that sense. As far as everything to do with the prison itself, I think it was great. I think just that whole sequence of, first of all, Kino kind of working up to that moment where he tells everybody, they're not letting anybody out, so this is our only way out, is to break out of here. The speech he gave as well, I mean, all of it it really did work really, really well. There were a lot of great moments. The only thing that I felt a little weird about at first was the moment when they get up to the top. They all start jumping in the water, and Kino's like, can't swim. Just like, wait, what? But then I realized it actually makes a lot of sense, because if he escaped right here, it wouldn't canonically make sense, because he still needs to be captured by the Empire and then experimented on and then turned into Palpatine's clone. And so this is how it connects. So I'm glad they kept the canon straight, and yes, I'm partially joking, but no, I'm not letting it go either. So all of that was fun. Don't know what Cassian's going to do next. I mean, probably going to try to get back home. This guy is with him, it starts with an M. I want to say it's like Melshiv or something like that, but I don't remember what it is now. But yeah, he's running with him, so I'm like, are they going to be working together? And is he going to help him get back to Ferrix? And when he does get back, is he going to help him take on the stormtroopers that are there and such? But as far as Lonnie and the mole inside ISB, it's really interesting to see that, because we have seen him throughout the season. We do know who he is. So to see that he's the one that's working as a mole, I don't really know what they plan to do with this. Because on the one hand, Dedra is so in control right now. She has really done a good job of building her case, showing how a lot of what she's saying is coming true, showing how every step they're making is leading them closer to these rebel outfits and stuff. So to see that there is a mole, but we see that Luthen is not willing to sacrifice his mole just yet. Because yes, they could go and they could save all of Krieger's men and all of this stuff, but it would reveal that, there's a guy working in the ISB, clearly. And he doesn't want that to happen to Lonnie. He doesn't want him to be hurt because he still sees a use for him. And that's where a lot of this stuff, I think, is very interesting, and I'm glad they're tackling some of this, because sometimes you do have to make those sacrifices. Sometimes you do have to weigh the outcomes and decide what is the better move here. Is it better to save this little group of men from the ISB taking them down, but then reveal our hand and show that, hey, we've got an inside informant? Or is it better to let these guys probably get killed, probably get made an example of, but at least we keep the mole in and we keep him giving us information? It's a very interesting, I guess, dilemma to deal with. So I'm glad they're tackling this a little bit, and I kind of wish more of this season had been dedicated to that. This whole what moves do you make, what sacrifices do you make, because it feels like we haven't really talked too much about that until right now. And it's a great speech, and I think it's really interesting hearing Luthen's side of things and how much he's had to sacrifice. But I do wish we had seen a bit more of it throughout the season instead of waiting until the end. As far as everything going on in Ferrix, there's not a whole lot. We see Marva apparently needs her medicine because she hasn't been taking it, so she's getting worse physically and health-wise. And we also see Cinta is still there, I guess still waiting for Cassian to show up, so don't know what that's going to lead to. There's also the story with Mon Mothma. Again, her whole story this whole season has felt the weakest out of all of them. Because in this one, all that really happens is the lender comes in, the guy who tells her he can do all the money stuff, comes in, she says no at the end of it all because she decides, never mind, I don't want you to introduce your son to my daughter, and that's it. More family drama with Mon Mothma. Isn't that what you wanted to see? I really don't get that. I don't... Vel having a connection to her is kind of interesting, but that's really all that's been interesting with her. I know Mon Mothma is an important character, and I know she becomes an important character for the rebellion, but it still feels odd that we're just focusing solely on seemingly her family drama and everything going on there. Her ties to the rebellion have been kind of minimal throughout this season. Her little talks with Luthen have only been 2 episodes in these 10. So I don't know. I'm not really a big fan of this whole story. I feel like it's kind of pointless and wasting time, but that's just me. Maybe there are other Star Wars fans that are super excited to find out the origins of Mon Mothma and how she decided to help the rebellion and all of that. I feel like it's just, again, compared to the rest of the story, is the least interesting part of the story to me. But as far as where this story is going to go, I'm honestly not too sure. The first thing that comes to mind is I'm sure there's going to be some bad stuff still that happens. I'm sure it's not going to work out 100% well. There's probably going to be a few deaths. I still expect Marva to be dead by the end of this season. But I feel like where it's all probably going to lead to is the forming of the rebellion. Because we've seen so far, there is a rebellion out there, but it's very fractured. It's all these different little groups that are trying to rise up on their own because they don't like the other rebellion outfits. They don't like the people in it or whatever. So I think we're finally going to get to a point at the end of this season where there's something that kind of unites them a bit more. And that's probably going to be our hopeful feeling at the end of it all. Even though, again, probably will be a lot of loss. I feel like that will be the moment that kind of makes everybody go, yeah, getting excited to see where it's going to go next. And I have no idea what season 2 is even going to be about. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen next. So let's get to the next one. I'll see you there. And now, episode 11, Daughter of Ferrix. So a lot of very interesting moving pieces in this one, particularly when it comes to everything to do with Luthen and what he's trying to do. Just as far as going to see Saw, explaining kind of how everything's working at the moment, this whole idea of sometimes you have to sacrifice based on what works best for the current situation, and ultimately what decisions are going to be made in the end. So it's a lot of very interesting moral dilemmas that they're bringing up here when it comes to the idea of rebelling and taking the fight to this powerful entity and what they're going to do about it. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this all comes to a close in the final episode here. But we also do see, Cassian manages to get a word out. He does find out about Marva and everything that happened, which is going to build up, I'm assuming, for him returning to Ferrix, because he's going to want to be there for the funeral, and that's going to play right into the Empire's hands. So I don't know how he's going to get out of that. I don't know. There's probably going to be some chance encounters. Maybe the fact that Cinta is there, and I'm assuming Vel is going to be there as well. Maybe them trying to take him out so he can't spoil anything about the rebellion to the Empire will kind of hurt the rebellion's chances. It's going to be interesting because they're going to want him but they're going to try to kill him so he can't talk. So they're going to do their best to probably keep him out of the Empire's hands. So it's going to be really interesting to see what they do with that in the story. But yeah, I think it's a great setup. I think the only thing, again, that I wasn't a huge fan of in this one is Mon Mothma still, because we see her daughter going through some ceremony, which I'm going to be honest, I don't really get the whole, I guess, the ways of the old ways that they're talking about. I don't really understand. Am I missing something? Because they're talking about, is it just arranged marriages? Is that what they're talking about? Because unless I missed something, they haven't actually fully explained what the ways of the Chandrila, is that the name of the people? Maybe if I've just missed it, if somebody can explain what I've missed, what when they talk about the old ways and stuff, what are they referring to? Because they talk about it in a way it's like, oh yeah, that's really weird, but it's the way of the people, so, it's what she wants to do. What? What is she doing? What are they chanting in there? I don't get it. So, but yeah, I mean, her story is still just very much on the periphery of it all, and not that interesting, and I don't really care. So, yeah, just not all that interesting. And again, I don't know if anybody was asking for a Mon Mothma origin story, but I wasn't. I definitely was not, especially this. I was definitely not asking for this. But it is at least only one thing out of all of these stories that I'm not fully on board for. So that's not a bad return. You got 5 different stories that are being focused on at the moment, and only one of them is just not great. It's pretty good. That's a pretty solid, I guess, story writing, I guess. I don't know. The terminology I'm trying to look for is just not there at the moment, because apparently 1 cup of coffee just doesn't do it anymore these days. But with all that being said, though, going into the final episode, still not entirely sure. Again, I have it in my mind that this is probably going to lead to the birth of the rebellion, but that's kind of all I have. I don't really know what else they're planning on doing with all of this. So it's a pretty interesting setup, and I feel like I'm excited to see how this is all going to come to an end. So at the very least, I could say that it's done better than Obi-Wan Kenobi or the Book of Boba Fett in that sense, because I actually am kind of on the edge of my seat wondering what's going to happen next. So yeah, it's a good sign, and hopefully they land this season. They stick the landing, because I think if they can do that, it'll probably be next to The Mandalorian. Yeah, I'd say next to The Mandalorian, probably my favorite Star Wars show so far, because there was a lot of good moments here at the end that really brought it up for me. So with all that being said, on to the finale. I'll see you there. And finally, episode 12, Rick's Road. Up until the final 3 scenes, I was on board. Those final 3 scenes were not good. It went out 3 scenes that just made me go, why? Why did we end here? Why did we have to end with, oh no, Mon Mothma's daughter is going to meet the son of the lender guy. Who cares? Oh, Mosk is just on the street drinking. Why are we cutting to him? Who cares about him? I'm surprised, honestly, he's still even a part of this whole thing. And then get to the very final scene. Do they think we haven't seen Rogue One yet? Do they think we've watched the movie and just gone, I forget how did that movie end. I forget who was in that movie. I don't know. Now let me watch Andor after I've seen Rogue One, and let's see what happens to this Cassian guy. Cliffhanger at the end. Is he gonna get shot by Luthen or not? What's gonna happen? We already know, you dumbasses. We've seen Rogue One. Unless you're gonna watch these in chronological order, which most people don't. Most people watch it when it was released. They watch it by release order. Because none of them have been written in the mindset of, hey, you want to watch these in chronological order. You can watch this first one without having seen the originals, and it'll make a lot of sense. No, most of them you have to have seen what came before, what was released before, for it to make sense. So why all of a sudden out of nowhere are we ending Andor with the idea that, oh, maybe people haven't seen Rogue One, and maybe people are going to be concerned and feel suspense that he might get shot, even though he's alive and well in Rogue One. It's stupid. So yeah, I mean, those 3 scenes definitely killed my enjoyment of the end of it. Kind of. I will say, I mean, I still enjoyed most of this episode. It's just, why do you have to end it on that? Why do you have to end it on such a stupid note that makes me facepalm? Because yeah, I mean, everything else in this was fine. Outside of, again, the Mon Mothma stuff, but that's just because... Who's begging for more Mon Mothma? Who's begging for her backstory? Who's begging to find out, oh no, apparently her husband has been gambling, and their driver's working for the Empire, and he's giving them the information about her husband gambling. Why do we care about that? Seriously. It played into nothing. I was expecting, okay, maybe there's a point to all of this. Maybe it will get to the end of this, and this whole story will have had a point to the main story. It did not. By the end of it, all that's happening, her daughter's getting, well, I don't know if they're getting engaged or not, because again, it's still very vague about what their traditions are, but she's meeting the kid of this bank lender, like loan shark guy. And that's all we get. Okay. So she had to take the deal, I'm guessing because her husband's gambling problems. She felt like she was pressured into a corner and couldn't say no. But what does that mean? Why does that matter to anything? In the show Andor, why does that matter at all? Honestly, what it really makes me think of is Jessica Jones. After the first season, they had no idea what to do with, I think it was Jerry, was Carrie-Anne Moss's character. I think that's who that is, the same one that played Trinity in The Matrix. They had no idea what to do with her character, so they just kept telling a story for her. They just kept like doing things with her character that mattered not to the main story. It was all very isolated to her and everything she was going through. What it meant to Jessica? Absolutely nothing. She hardly played a factor at all in the entirety of the season of Jessica Jones, first 2 or 3. But it's Carrie-Anne Moss, guys. We can't just kick her out of the show, so we got to find a reason to write Jerry into this. I know, let's have her dealing with her own troubles, and we'll have that be like kind of a side story in this. That's what it felt like. Oh, you know what, guys? I mean, Mon Mothma, she's a big part of the rebellion, right? So let's just tell a little side story about what she's going through and her own personal drama. Why? Why do you feel the need to do that? Because again, I guarantee there's probably very few people that are out there going, I want more Mon Mothma personal drama. Give me more of that, please. Maybe a few, but probably only a few. But on to the good stuff now, because again, I wanted to get all of the negativity and all the problems I had out right away, right out in the open. The good stuff, basically everything else. Everything to do with what happened on Ferrix. It was great build-up, great suspense building, great moments of just, you get that feeling of, rah, let's go, take down the Empire. It really brings that spirit out. And that whole time, just everything from when the anvil started getting hit, people marching, all of that stuff, to the moment whenever the guy flipped over, I know his name is B for short, but B260? I don't remember what his full name is. But as soon as he flipped him over to stop Marva's speech, that moment right there, you could feel it building to that moment. And as soon as he did that, I'm like, kick his ass. And just to see, it was great to see. I think it's to this moment, I still don't know if it's Bassa or Basso. It's either ASSO or OSSA. I don't remember. But all I could think was kick his ass, and then all of a sudden he turns and kicks the crap out of him. I'm like, yes, it's exactly what I wanted. But yeah, I mean, it was really good. You got this building tension where you see Cassian trying to go find Bix, and you see the fighting kicking up, and all of the tension is there. And then as soon as I know his last name is Pack, the one guy that was tortured before Bix, and then I'm pretty sure they hung him, but I don't know if we actually got to see that. But he had that bomb that he was building, he tosses it over, and it just caused this huge explosion. I mean, all of that was just perfectly building in tension. And then you get to that moment, and it kind of just feels like, yeah, I mean, it's time. It is time for people to start standing up, and this is a good spark to do it, I think. So, yeah, I mean, I can't really say much else outside of that. It's not like there's anything in particular to point out. Just all of that scene was awesome. I think the only two things that I was not as big of a fan of, but they were necessary. First of all, is the one guy, I think it's Nurchin or something like that. The one guy that approached him in the first episode was like, "Hey, where's my money?" And then had the one big guy that's supposed to stand there and look intimidating. He shows up again, and he hears that Cassian's on his way back, and he's, every time he hears a little something, he's giving a look like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna turn on this guy. I'm gonna get some money out of this." It was just kind of pointless. It didn't matter in the end because ultimately it drew them away and pointed them to Cassian, which then actually opened up the hotel for him to go get Bix out. So it was really weird in him trying to betray him. He actually helped him out. I don't know why you couldn't just have, like, maybe that be part of the plan. Like somebody, hey, you got to draw them away from the hotel so I can get to Bix. All right, well, we'll have somebody say that they've seen you and want to collect. Like, that would have been kind of interesting, but to have him just, nope, he was just an asshole who wanted more money, and then he ends up dying because of one of the explosions. Oh well. It felt kind of pointless. Also, the whole thing with Vel and Cinta kind of didn't go anywhere. And I don't know, maybe they're building that up for season 2, but we see throughout most of it, I mean, Vel, she wants to spend time with her, she wants to be there for her and all of this, but Cinta is very job focused, wants to get the job done, wants to take on the Empire. And it just kind of was all that all the way through to the end. And then we get to this point where she's been tracking this one guy, and she's very duty focused, trying to figure out what's going on with him, and then she tracks him down into an alleyway, he turns and sees her, and then she stabs him. And that's it. I don't get it. I don't get what all that's supposed to be. Why is that a story? Why are we spending time on this? It didn't lead to anything. So yeah, just a couple of stories that I felt like were a little bit pointless in the mix of all of that. Also, I will say Karn did not play as big of a part in this finale as I thought he was going to. I thought he was either going to come in and in trying to correct his mistake or in trying to, I guess, prove himself, he was actually going to make things worse. But ultimately, he really didn't play much of a part in it at all. Aside from dragging Dedra away from all of the people trying to maul her, I mean, that's about the only thing he did is save her life. And even then, I mean, that doesn't feel like a good thing because it feels like she's going to come at them even harder now after what happened at the end of this one. So I guess, I mean, they're building her up to be the main threat for season 2, I suppose, and maybe Karn will be working with her this time. But I don't know. I did not really see that that's where this was going to go because that, in my opinion, we've already seen her be the main threat for a majority of the season. About halfway through is when she really stepped into that power and she was trying to track them down and trying to figure out where Cassian was and all of this stuff. So it feels like she's already been the main threat for a little while. So to have this moment, I mean, she and Cassian don't even really face off, and neither does she and Luthen. Or she hardly is involved. She just goes and looks for him, and then he's not there, so then she's looking for him some more, and then that's when everything kicks off. It felt like she didn't play much of a part in this finale. So I don't know. I'm a little confused. There was the one moment whenever she heard that Krieger was apparently killed, and them trying to capture him and his men, and obviously it showed how the minds that are there at the ISB whenever she is not are much more of a, we just need to take these guys out. We just need to show our power by killing them. Where, of course, in her mind, that's like, yeah, but that's kind of what, they don't care if they die. They become martyrs that way. You need to bring them in so we can get information. That's why she's not willing to just kill right away. She wants to try to pry information out of people first. So it does show that difference in mindset there, but I feel like we've already kind of gone over this whole, she disagrees with how they're running things, she does her own thing, she proves her point, and now they've given her power, they've given her attention. It feels weird that we've suddenly regressed, and now they're like, yeah, no, we just decided to do this, and we didn't ask for Your suggestion, we just went against what you would suggest, and we don't care. We got the job done. Woo, go us. It seems a little odd and out of place, but I don't know. This is just stuff that I feel like I was expecting it. It was building towards something a little different, and then we get to this finale, and it feels more like maybe they're saving some of this stuff for season 2, and I don't really like that. It's kind of that same issue that I've had with Marvel stuff of late, where I want these stories to be complete. I want these stories to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And it feels like a lot of Marvel stuff, and now with Andor, it feels like there was a beginning, a middle, and then a setup for next season, which will have a beginning and a. It doesn't feel satisfying. While there was a fight back, and that was exciting to see, it doesn't feel like it was a win or a loss. It kind of felt like everything sort of stopped right in the middle of it all, and we're just going to have to wait to see what happens next season, how the outcome occurred. And it's just not as exciting when that happens. I feel like, not that there's never been any cliffhangers in anything before, but most of the time if you're going to end on a cliffhanger for a season, it's got to feel like this whole season wasn't building to this. It's more so the final few episodes were building to this, and now we're going to be seeing how it concludes next season. This whole season felt like it was building toward, there's going to be a rebellion starting, and it's probably going to kick off on Ferrix soon, because that's where a lot of this is located. You see some of the people there, you see Luthen there. I don't know, that's where it felt like it was going for me. So to see that we finally got to see that spark finally kick off, and no conclusion for it, we don't really know how it wrapped up. We see some of the people got away. Cassian and Luthen are together, but we don't really confirm that they are working together, even though, again, we know from Rogue One he doesn't kill him, and he's obviously not going to turn him in. I don't know. Just those are the problems that are floating in my head. Maybe the more I sit on it, the more it'll be okay in my mind that they were building up to season 2. Obviously, once I see season 2, maybe, again, my mind will change, and I'll be like, you know what? This was a good setup for this season. I don't know. I'm just kind of stuck in this limbo, though, because that's where the show left me. And in my opinion, it doesn't always work out. For me right now, I'm a little unsatisfied. But again, that could change. So I guess we'll wait and see what happens next. But for now, that's all I've got. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on these final 3 episodes and the season as a whole? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Andor reviews, and I'll see you guys whenever the second season comes out. Peace out.